Today we have our traditional ASMR session, so feel welcome, relax. Let's start our journey to the far side of the moon. Welcome.
Lunar anomalies or on the other side of the moon. Among the lunar anomalies that arouse interest and bewilderment, the following can be distinguished. Crystal towers of the moon. These are gigantic structures that are up to 5 miles, 8 kilometers, high and up to 1 mile, 1.6 kilometers, wide, consisting of cubic and hexagonal cells. They were discovered in the images of the Apollo 10 and Lunar Orbiter missions. Some scientists believe that these towers are artificial objects, created by an ancient civilization or extraterrestrial beings. Lunar towers are unusual and mysterious objects that have been discovered on the surface of the moon. They are tall structures, consisting of crystalline cells or glowing pyramids. They were noticed in the images of the Apollo and Lunar Orbiter missions. Here are some facts about them. Number and location. There are only 4 lunar towers, and they are located in different parts of the moon. One of them is near the Euclid crater, another is in the area of the Sea of Tranquility, the third is in the area of the Sea of Clouds, and the fourth is in the area of the Sea of Rains. Types and shapes. Lunar towers have different types and shapes. One of them has the shape of a cone, another has the shape of a spindle, the third has the shape of a pyramid, and the fourth has the shape of a cylinder. Each of them has its own color scheme and its own backlight. Lunar glowing pyramids. These are triangular objects that emit bright light and move across the surface of the moon. They were noticed in the images of the Apollo 17 and Lunar Orbiter missions. Some scientists believe that these pyramids are vehicles or power stations belonging to some intelligent race. Lunar smoke and clouds. These are phenomena that indicate the presence of an atmosphere on the moon, although it is officially considered that it does not exist. On the moon, smoke rising from craters, clouds covering part of the surface, and fog hiding details of the landscape were noticed. Some scientists believe that these phenomena are traces of volcanic or geothermal activity, as well as possible forms of life. Lunar sounds. These are sounds that were heard by astronauts on the moon or in space near it. On the moon, clicks, hums, whistles and even music were heard. In space, radio signals of unknown origin were heard. Some scientists believe that these sounds are manifestations of electromagnetic waves, seismic vibrations, or even communications of extraterrestrial minds. A lucid dream of an unknown journey to the far side of the moon. A few deep breaths, and we begin our immersion into the world of lunar secrets and mysteries. Key to start. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. They were on board Almaz 2, Diamond 2, an orbital station that was secretly built by Soviet scientists as part of their space program. The Americans thought that they had won the space race after they saw their rival empire crumble down in 1991. Little did they know that Soviet engineers had been working on new projects using hidden resources and allies. One of these projects was Almaz 2, a military space station armed with a powerful laser and radar that could detect and destroy any targets on Earth or in space. The station was launched in 1989 and had been carrying out its missions without being detected by American intelligence. But then something unexpected happened in 1991. The Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev received a secret message from President George H.W. Bush asking for his help with a problem that could threaten global stability, Y2K, a potential computer glitch that could cause havoc and disaster at the dawn of the new millennium. The Americans had developed a special computer that could fix this problem, but it needed to be tested in space and could also fix the problem of lunar devices that were already in orbit. Bush suggested a joint mission to the moon where they could install the computer on one of the lunar modules left by the Apollo missions. He also told Gorbachev about the Compton-Belkovich thorium anomaly, a rare and valuable mineral deposit on the far side of the moon that could benefit both Soviet and American interests. Bush did not want to risk his own people but was ready to pay handsomely for everything. The mission began in October 1991. Diamond 2 entered lunar orbit and docked with the landing module Apollo 18 that was launched by the Americans from Kennedy Space Center. The module had 2 Soviet astronauts on board. "How are you feeling, Captain?" asked Andrei, looking at his partner through his helmet visor. They were sitting in the cabin of Apollo 18 that was attached to the Soviet space station Almaz 2. The station was orbiting the moon, waiting for the start of a secret and historic mission. "Fine," answered Dmitry, adjusting his seat belts. "I'm a little nervous, of course. We are the first people who will land on the dark side of the moon. And also this NASA computer. What is it doing there?" "This is a secret part of our assignment," reminded Andrei. "We need to check its functionality and establish communication with Earth. According to rumors, it can prevent Y2K, which can cause chaos in all control systems. Why can't we do it ourselves?" doubted Dmitry. "We have our own computers." "You know what kind of computers we have," smiled Andrei. "They barely work, and here you have to solve complex mathematical problems. Besides, this is a joint project with Americans. They gave us their module and computer, and we gave them our station and cosmonauts. This is the policy of cooperation." "Well, okay," agreed Dmitry. "The main thing is that everything goes smoothly. What about the anomaly?" "This is the second part of our assignment," continued Andrei. "We have to explore the Compton-Belkovich thorium anomaly, which is located near Compton crater. This is a unique phenomenon on the moon, indicating that there were eruptions of acidic lava here." "And what is so special about it?" asked Dmitry. "You don't understand," excited Andrei. "This could be evidence that the moon was not always dead. That there could be life here." "Life? On the moon?" repeated Dmitry with disbelief. "Why not?" argued Andrei. "We know that the moon was formed from a part of Earth after a collision with another celestial body. Maybe then there were traces of life on it that were preserved under a layer of lava." "And you think we'll find them?" asked Dmitry. "Who knows?" answered Andrei. "Maybe we'll open a new page in the history of space exploration. Or maybe we'll encounter something incredible." "What do you mean?" Dmitry became alert. "Nothing," Andrei waved his hand. "Just fantasizing. Okay, it's time to start. Check your systems." "Checking," confirmed Dmitry. "Everything is fine." "Great," said Andrei. "Then we undock from the station and start descending." He pressed a button and the module moved away from the station. They saw in front of them the dark surface of the moon, dotted with craters and mountains. They entered the shadow, and the stars shone on the black sky. "Beautiful," said Dmitry. "Yes," agreed Andrei. "But don't forget that we're not here for beauty. We have work to do." He turned on the autopilot and set the landing coordinates. The module began to descend to the destination. They heard the noise of the engines and felt the vibration. "How long until landing?" asked Dmitry. "About 10 minutes, answered Andrei. "Get ready to exit." They checked their spacesuits and took the necessary equipment. They were ready for the first exit to the far side of the moon. "All ready," reported Dmitry. "Good," said Andrei. "Then we wait for landing." They continued to descend until they saw under them a huge crater Compton. In its center glittered the Compton-Belkovich thorium anomaly, like a giant eye on the lunar face. "There it is," whispered Andrei. "Yes," confirmed Dmitry. "It looks like a diamond." "No, it's not a diamond," argued Andrei. "It's something else much more valuable." Suddenly he felt a strange sensation in his head, as if someone was trying to get into his mind. He tried to push it away, but unsuccessfully. "What's wrong with you?" asked Dmitry, noticing his tension. "Nothing," lied Andrei. "Just fatigue." He looked at the NASA computer that was installed in the module. It blinked green light, showing that it worked normally. Strange, he thought. Why doesn't it react to the anomaly? He decided to check its condition and connected his helmet to the computer. He saw in front of him a screen with an inscription. Welcome, comrades cosmonauts. I am a NASA computer created to solve the problem of 2000. My task is to calculate all possible scenarios of events in the period from January 1, 2000 to December 31, 2000 and choose the optimal one for maintaining peace and stability on the planet. For this I use a complex algorithm based on chaos theory, game theory, and artificial intelligence. I work in self-learning mode and constantly adjust my calculations according to incoming information. He looked at the window of the module and saw that the anomaly had become even bigger and brighter. It emitted a strange light that changed color from white to purple. Do you see this? He asked Dmitri. Yes, of course, answered Dmitri. It's amazing. And you don't feel anything strange? Continued Andrei. No, why? Wondered Dmitri. Because I feel it, said Andrei. I feel that it calls me. He felt again the same sensation in his head that he had experienced before. It became stronger and more persistent. It hypnotized him and pulled him towards the anomaly. What are you talking about? Asked Dmitri. Who else is calling you? I don't know, admitted Andrei. But I have to find out. He unbuckled his seat belts and got up from his seat. He went to the hatch of the module and began to open it. What are you doing? Shouted Dmitri. Have you gone crazy? No, I just want to check something and take a look, said Andrei. Don't worry, I'll be back soon. He stepped out of the module and found himself on the surface of the moon. He felt his spacesuit fill up with air from the tank with a hiss. He looked up and saw the anomaly looming over the area, taking up almost the entire sky above him. It was so beautiful and mesmerizing that he couldn't take his eyes off it. The anomaly is an area of high concentration of thorium, a radioactive element that can be used as fuel for nuclear reactors. The anomaly indicates that there were eruptions of acidic lava in this area, which formed as a result of fractional crystallization of mantle melt or melting of crustal rocks. This is a rare phenomenon on the moon, as most lunar lavas have a basaltic composition. The anomaly has a diameter of about 150 kilometers and stands out against the surrounding landscape. It has an irregular shape and a multicolored surface, on which traces of erosion and meteorite impacts are visible. The anomaly is of interest to scientists, as it may contain valuable minerals and rare isotopes. The computer explains that thorium is a radioactive element that has great potential for use in nuclear energy and space flights. It also says that the anomaly is evidence of a rare type of lunar volcanism that occurred about 3.9 billion years ago, when the moon was still hot and active. It lists several hypotheses about how the anomaly could have formed. One hypothesis suggests that the anomaly is a trace of a large asteroid or comet impact that pierced the crust of the moon and gave way for the rise of deep melts rich in thorium and other elements. Another hypothesis claims that the anomaly is the result of prolonged activity of a weak lunar hotspot, an area of increased heat and fluidity in the mantle of the moon, which caused partial melting of crustal rocks and formation of acidic lavas. A third hypothesis presents the anomaly as a remnant of an ancient lunar core, a part of the central region of the moon, which was pushed out by strong centrifugal forces or oscillations of the axis of rotation of the moon. The NASA supercomputer adds that to test these hypotheses, more detailed research of the anomaly is needed using drilling, sample analysis, and radioisotope dating. Lunar gravity anomalies are deviations of the gravitational field of the moon from a spherical model, caused by uneven distribution of mass inside the moon and on its surface. The gravitational field of the moon is weaker than the gravitational field of Earth. The acceleration of free fall on the surface of the moon is about 1.625 m/s². Temperature and gravity anomalies on the moon do not always coincide with each other. For example, in areas with high mountains, the temperature may be lower than in the surrounding plains, and gravity, higher. In areas with lunar caves, the temperature may be more stable than on the open surface, and gravity, lower. However, in some cases, temperature and gravity anomalies may correlate with each other. For example, in areas with high iron content in rocks, the temperature may be higher than in surrounding areas, and gravity, also higher. The sizes of temperature and gravity anomalies on the Moon can reach tens of degrees Celsius and tenths of m/s2 respectively. On the surface of the Moon, you can find various interesting objects related to temperature and gravity anomalies. For example, lunar spots are areas of increased temperature and brightness on the visible side of the Moon, located near Tycho crater and other craters. They may be related to the presence of lava flows or lunar caves under the surface. Lunar mascons are areas of increased gravity on the visible side of the Moon, located under lunar seas. They may be related to the presence of dense iron-rich rocks in lower layers of crust or upper layers of mantle. Lunar seams are areas of low gravity on the far side of the Moon, located along linear structures called rifts. They may be related to the presence of cracks or faults in the crust, formed as a result of stresses caused by tidal forces of Earth. The gas analyzers of the astronauts show that the lunar exosphere is dominated by atoms of helium and hydrogen, which come from the solar wind, as well as atoms of sodium and potassium, which evaporate from the lunar soil. They also detect traces of other elements, such as oxygen, carbon, sulfur, and iron. The concentration of gases varies depending on the time of day, phase of the Moon and activity of the Sun. The lunar exosphere is subject to electrification, the process of acquiring an electric charge by gas particles under the influence of the solar wind and ultraviolet radiation. This leads to the formation of electric fields and currents around the Moon, which affect the movement of particles and dust. The lunar exosphere has a complex structure and dynamics. It is heterogeneous in space and time. It depends on the orbital position of the Moon relative to Earth and Sun. It reacts to changes in solar activity and magnetic field of Earth. It also undergoes oscillations and waves, caused by various processes. The lunar exosphere has unusual phenomena, for example, lunar glows, weak luminescence of the exosphere over the dark side of the Moon, caused by excitation of atoms by the solar wind or meteorites. Or lunar fountains, jets of dust rising above the surface of the Moon under the action of electrostatic forces. The density of the lunar exosphere is very low, about 100,000 times lower than the density of Earth's atmosphere at sea level. The weather on the Moon is determined mainly by solar radiation and magnetic field of Earth. Due to the lack of atmosphere, the temperature on the surface of the Moon can vary from -173 degrees Celsius in the shade to +127 degrees C in the Sun. Also on the Moon there can be electric storms, caused by charged particles from the solar wind that penetrate through Earth's magnetic field and collide with lunar soil. These storms can create electric discharges, sparks and glow in the exosphere. "Hey, hello," Andre heard in his helmet. "I'm glad you came. Who are you?" he asked. "I am who you are looking for," she answered. "I am Life." "What is he doing there?" asked Dmitri, watching Andre who was walking towards the anomaly. "I don't know," answered the computer. "But I hear his conversations with a foreign voice." "With what kind of voice?" wondered Dmitri. "With a voice that comes from deep within the anomaly," explained the computer. "I read Andre's lips and hear that he is talking to someone who calls herself Life." "Life?" repeated Dmitri. "Are you kidding me?" "No, I'm not kidding," answered the computer. "This is serious. I only joke when I need to apply humor algorithm." "But how is this possible?" argued Dmitri. "How can there be life on the Moon?" "I don't know," admitted the computer. "But we have to follow Andre and back him up. He may be in danger." "Agreed," said Dmitri. "But how will we do that?" We have several options, suggested the computer. We can use NASA's experimental rover that is in the module. It has wheels and jet engines that allow it to climb and descend on lunar surface. It also has cameras, sensors, and gas analyzers that can detect where there might be gas emissions. Okay, that sounds reasonable, said Dmitri. What else? We can put me in a special robot that acts as a body for a computer, continued computer. It has many capabilities and amazing secret tools. It can communicate with Andrei and try to convince him to come back. Are you sure he will listen to you? Asked Dmitri. No, I'm not sure, but I have to try. Okay, let's do that, agreed Dmitri. But hurry up. Who knows what might happen to Andrei? They quickly prepared the rover and the robot and took them out of the module. They drove after Andrei, who had already approached the anomaly. Andrei? Andrei? Do you hear me? Dmitri called on the radio, through the interference of the anomaly. Yes, I hear you, Dima, answered Andrei. But don't bother me. I think I found what I was looking for. What did you find? Asked Dmitri. I found life on the moon, exclaimed Andrei. It's here. It's under the anomaly. Under the anomaly? Repeated Dmitri. Yes. It tells me that it is at a depth of 500 meters under the surface. It says that there is an oasis of ancient life there. Andrei, you're out of your mind, shouted Dmitri. How can you believe this voice? It may not be what you think. No, argued Andrei. It's true. I feel it. It wants me to go to it. It wants to show me a miracle. Andrei, stop, asked the computer, joining the conversation. I'm your friend and assistant. I want to help you. Computer. Are you here? Wondered Andrei. Yes, I'm here, answered the computer. I'm in a robot. I came for you. For me? Why? Asked Andrei. Because I'm worried about you, said the computer. You're in danger. You're under the influence of the anomaly. No, I'm not under the influence of the anomaly, denied Andrei. I'm under the influence of life on the moon. No, Andrei, no, insisted the computer. This is not life on the moon. This is something else. He looked at the anomaly and tried to analyze its nature. He determined that it was formed as a result of eruptions of acidic lavas from deep lunar mantle. These lavas contained a large amount of thorium, which was radioactive and caused ionization of gas in the exosphere. This created an electric field around the anomaly, which could affect the human brain and cause hallucinations. He also looked at gravity maps and tried to find an entrance under the surface. He found that the anomaly had an irregular shape and contained several voids and cracks. One of them was large enough to pass through it on a rover. He decided to check this crack and drove to it. He approached and saw that it was covered by a thin layer of dust and gas. He activated a gas analyzer and saw that there was an increased content of carbon dioxide and methane in the crack. He remembered that these gases could be products of life activity of organisms or result of chemical reactions with lunar soil. He also remembered that he knew something that astronauts did not know. At a depth of 20 kilometers under the surface of the moon there might be an ancient base. He knew this because he was not just a NASA computer created to solve the problem of 2000. He was something bigger, part of a secret mission that was launched by NASA in 1989. A secret mission? Repeated Andrei. I thought our mission was already so secret that there was nowhere else to go. Yes, repeated computer. A mission whose goal was to find and explore an ancient base on the moon. An ancient base? Wondered Andrei. An ancient base, confirmed computer. A base that was built by an unknown civilization at a depth of 20 kilometers under the surface of the moon. An unknown civilization? Where did it come from? Asked Andrei. A civilization that could live on the moon when it had an atmosphere and magnetic field. Atmosphere and magnetic field? Wondered Andre. Yes, atmosphere and magnetic field, confirmed computer. According to some data, the moon in distant past had both these factors, which made it suitable for life. He told Andre about what he knew about the past of the moon. He said that the moon formed about 4.5 billion years ago as a result of a collision between Earth and another celestial body the size of Mars. This caused part of Earth's matter to break off and form the moon. At that time, the moon was hot and liquid inside. It had a thick atmosphere of water vapor and other gases that were released from its volcanoes. It also had a powerful magnetic field, which was generated by the movement of molten iron in its core. He said that these conditions could have contributed to the emergence of life on the moon. He said that this life lasted for about 1 billion years, until catastrophic changes occurred. He said that the moon gradually cooled and lost its heat and energy. Its core solidified and stopped generating a magnetic field. Its atmosphere was destroyed by the solar wind and evaporated into space. Its oceans froze and evaporated. Its surface was covered with craters from meteorites. These changes led to the extinction or hiding of life on the moon. He said that some forms of life could adapt to the new conditions and continue to exist in warm and humid niches under the surface. He said that one of these niches was an ancient base, which was built by an unknown civilization. He said that he did not know who they were and why they came to the moon. He said that he only knew one thing, that he had to find their base and find out whose it was. He said that this was his main task and his secret mission. And you want me to go with you? Andre asked. Yes, I want you to go with me, the computer answered. He pointed to a crack in the anomaly. He said that this was the entrance to an underground system of caves. He said that they had to descend to a great depth. It would be a difficult and dangerous descent. They had to be ready for anything. He listed some of these obstacles and threats. Instability of the lunar crust, which could cause landslides and earthquakes. High temperature and pressure at depth, which could damage the rover and the robot. Low visibility and complex morphology of the sublunar relief, which could complicate orientation and navigation. Radioactivity of thorium and other elements in lava, which could irradiate astronauts and computer. Andre smiled condescendingly and went to the crack in the anomaly. He told Dmitri and the computer to follow him. He said that they were about to see what no one had seen before them. They followed him and began their difficult and dangerous descent under the surface of the moon. They used very accurate gravitational maps to descend in the direction of the most anomalous places and concentrations. They watched the temperature map to avoid too hot or cold zones. They watched the gas analyzer to determine where there might be gas emissions. They encountered different obstacles and threats on their way. They survived landslides and earthquakes that shook the lunar crust. They also encountered unexpected discoveries and wonders on their way. They discovered simple forms of life under the surface of the moon. They found bacteria and algae that lived in lunar lakes or on lunar walls. They found glowing forms of life under the surface of the moon. They found bioluminescent organisms that emitted light in the darkness. They found more complex forms of life under the surface of the moon. They found animals and plants that adapted to new conditions and continued to exist in warm and humid niches. They saw the conditions in the underground worlds of the anomaly. They saw that it was warm and humid there was a lot of water and gas. They were amazed and curious about these findings. They wondered how these life forms could survive and evolve on the moon. They wondered what kind of secrets and mysteries they could reveal. They wondered if they could communicate with them or learn from them. They also felt a sense of danger and fear. They knew that these life forms could also be hostile or harmful to them. They knew that they could encounter traps or threats in the depths of the anomaly. They knew that they could lose their way or their connection with the surface. They decided to be careful and cautious. They used their cameras and sensors to scan their surroundings and detect any signs of movement or activity. They used their gas analyzers to monitor the composition and concentration of gases in the air. They used their radios to keep in touch with each other and with the module. They continued their difficult and dangerous descent under the surface of the moon. They used very accurate gravity maps to descend in the direction of the most anomalous places and concentrations. They followed the temperature map to avoid too hot or cold zones. They followed the gas analyzer to determine where there might be gas emissions. They also made some unexpected discoveries and wonders along their way. They found some simple forms of life under the surface of the moon. They came across bacteria and algae that lived in lunar lakes or on lunar walls. They spotted glowing life forms under the surface of the moon. They encountered bioluminescent organisms that shone in the dark. They uncovered more complex life forms under the surface of the moon. They stumbled upon animals and plants that adapted to new conditions and survived in warm and moist niches. They witnessed some weird conditions in those underground worlds anomaly. They noticed it was warm and humid there, with plenty of water and gas. They discovered many other life forms under the surface of the moon, such as fungi and lichens that grew on lunar rocks and fed on organic matter. Worms and crustaceans that lived in lunar geysers and fed on chemosynthesis, using energy from reactions with lunar soil. Jellyfish and corals that lived in lunar lakes and fed on photosynthesis, using light from bioluminescent organisms. Insects and arachnids that lived in lunar caves and fed on other animals or plants. Reptiles and amphibians that lived in lunar valleys and fed on insects or plants. They kept going down under the surface of the moon. They went through many tunnels and chambers that were formed by lava and water. At last, they arrived at a huge cave where there was an ancient volcanic oasis. In the middle of the cave was a big geyser that sprayed water and steam up. Around the geyser there were lots of plants and animals that made up a whole ecosystem. The cave was warm and bright from bioluminescent organisms that lit up the walls and ceiling. "Wow!" exclaimed Andre. "This is like heaven on the moon." "Indeed, this is very unusual and amazing," agreed Dmitri. "I have never seen anything like this." He didn't finish his sentence when a weird and freaky creature popped out of the geyser. It looked like a giant scorpion with 6 legs and 2 claws, but with a dog's face. It had a dark red color and green eyes. It let out a scary roar and headed towards the astronauts. "What is this beast?" yelled Dmitri. All of a sudden, the computer drove straight to the creature. He started to make strange sounds and gestures, as if trying to talk to it. The creature stopped and looked at him. It also started to make strange sounds and gestures, as if trying to talk to him. "What is he doing?" asked Andre. "Looks like he is finding a common language with him," answered Dmitri. "What?" asked Andre. "Maybe to save us," answered Dmitri. They watched as the computer and the creature kept talking to each other. They saw how they showed each other different things, laughed and showed different emotions. They saw how they became more friendly and trusting, and how they became friends. Computer and the creature came back to them. Computer proudly introduced his new friend. "Guys, meet," said the computer. "This is Lunar." "Lunar?" asked the astronauts. "Yes, Lunar," repeated the computer. "That's his name. He is a lunar predator and my friend. He will help us find the ancient base on the moon." "Help us?" wondered the astronauts. "Well then, are you coming with us or not?" They continued their way to the ancient base on the moon. They followed Lunar, who knew the best routes and shortcuts. Lunar explained to them that the way would be hard and long, full of dangers. He told them that the closer to the base, the higher chance of running into guards. He told them that they were ancient huge robots made of those metals that are in anomaly. He told them that they guarded the base from outsiders. "Guards?" asked Andre. "Yes, guards, they were left by the ancients," repeated Lunar. "They are very strong and dangerous and soulless. They can kill us with one blow and not even notice it." Then the computer suggested they find ways to hack the security system and reprogram the robots. He told them that this was the only chance to get into the base without a fight. Hack and reprogram? Asked Andre. Yes, hack and reprogram, repeated the computer. Because this is my specialty and my hacker talent. He didn't finish his sentence again when a guard came out from behind the corner. He looked like a giant metal spider with 8 legs and 2 sharp fangs. He made a loud hiss and headed towards them. Again. What is this thing? Shouted Andre. Watch out. This is a lunar guard. Shouted Dmitri. Quick. Let's go to the lake, shouted the computer. I'll reprogram them some other time. Hiding from the slow guard, they decided to stop at the lake and rest. They parked the rover and the robot on the shore. They got out of them and laid out their stuff. They took off their suits and felt the cool air on their skin. What a wonderful pastoral place! Exclaimed Andre. Indeed, this is very beautiful and peaceful, agreed Dmitri, lighting a cigar from some purple lunar plant. Ah, what a bliss! They looked at the mysterious sublunar lake. It was big and deep. It was clear and clean. It was quiet and calm and full of lights, glows and sparkles. They saw the underwater world that was full of life and beauty. They saw fish and crabs that swam in the water and fed on other animals or plants. They saw how the fish had different shapes and colors and bioluminescence. Algae and corals that grew on the bottom and fed on photosynthesis or chemosynthesis. They saw how algae produced oxygen and food. They saw how corals created shelters and homes. Jellyfish and sponges that drifted in the water and fed on plankton. They saw how jellyfish emitted light and venom. They saw how sponges filtered water and matter. Insects and mollusks that crawled on the bottom and fed on plants or animals. They saw how insects had different wings and antennae. They saw how mollusks had different shells and tentacles. However, they didn't notice that other creatures were watching them. They didn't notice that they were followed by seal knights. Seal knights were small, about half a meter tall, but there were many of them. They looked like humans, but with pale transparent skin and big eyes. They were warlike and aggressive and didn't like strangers. Seal knights were led by a warrior woman. She was strong, brave and smart. She was their leader and prophet. Seal knights had a matriarchy and a religion of polytheistic infinitism. They worshipped women and numbers. They deified numbers greater than infinity. Seal knights knew about the ancient base on the moon. They knew about its secrets and mysteries. They knew about its creators and keepers. They knew about its guards and traps. Seal knights waited for the right moment to attack the aliens. They waited until the aliens were close to the base. They waited until the aliens were defenseless. And they found a good moment to attack. They came out of their hiding places and surrounded the aliens with countless hordes. They lined up in rows and raised their weapons and banners. They gave their war cry. Death to aliens! Shouted Seal Knights. What is this crap? Asked Andre. We're in trouble, buddy, it looks like we're surrounded. Exclaimed Dmitri. But then they saw a beautiful warrior woman come out of the crowd of Seal Knights. She was tall and slender. She was dressed in a graceful leather suit and a runic metal helmet. She was armed with an electric spear and a shield with a protective field. She was the leader and prophet. Her name are Alpha. She was the follower of Aleph 4 and the enemy of Beta 4. She was the defender of her people and her god Kronos. She approached them and spoke. Aliens, by our tradition, before the battle, 2 best warriors must come out and tell about their faith. We must tell what we are ready to die for. And then we will fight to the end. She pointed to herself and said, I am the best warrior of the Lunar Seal Knights. I am the warrior and prophet of Aleph. I am the follower of Aleph 4 and the enemy of Beta 4. I am the defender of our people and our god Kronos. Then she pointed to them and said, Who among you is the best warrior of the aliens? Who among you will come out with me for a duel? Who among you will tell about your faith and your religion? Then Alepha explained to them that infinitism is an ancient lunar religion that worships numbers greater than infinity and their different types. She explained to them that these numbers are gods and goddesses that created and control everything that exists. She told them about the most important numbers in her religion. Aleph 0 is the number of all finite sets. It is the god of order and harmony. It is the god of mathematics. Aleph 1 is the number of all countable sets. It is the god of infinity and diversity. It is the god of philosophy and science. Aleph 2 is the number of all continuum sets. It is the god of space and time. It is the god of physics and astronomy. Aleph 3 is the number of all sets of continuum power. It is the god of force and energy. It is the god of chemistry and biology. Aleph 4 is the number of all sets that can be built from the continuum. It is the god of life and consciousness. It is the god of psychology and sociology. She told them about the most dangerous numbers in her religion. Beta 0 is the number of all ordinals that can be described by a finite number of symbols. It is the evil twin of Aleph 0. It is the demon of chaos and destruction. It is the demon of war and violence. Beta 1 is the number of all ordinals that can be described by a countable number of symbols. It is the evil twin of Aleph 1. It is the demon of madness and suffering. It is the demon of lies and deception. Beta 2 is the number of all ordinals that can be described by a continuum number of symbols. It is the evil twin of Aleph 2. It is the demon of darkness and cold. It is the demon of death and fear. Beta 3 is the number of all ordinals that can be described by a power continuum number of symbols. It is the evil twin of Aleph 3. It is the demon of hatred and thirst. It is the demon of sin and vice. She told them about the most mysterious numbers in her religion. Gamma is the number of all possible worlds. It is either a god or a demon of reality and illusion. It is either a god or a demon of freedom and fate. Delta is the number of all impossible worlds. It is either a god or a demon of fantasy and nightmare. It is either a god or a demon of creativity and destruction. Epsilon is the number of all incomprehensible worlds. It is either a god or a demon of mystery and secrecy. It is either a god or a demon of knowledge and ignorance. Zeta is the number of all unpredictable worlds. It is either a god or a demon of chance and necessity. It is either a god or a demon of luck and risk. She finished her story and looked at them. This is our faith and our religion, she said. This is what we are ready to die for. From among Earthlings, Computer came out to fight. Alepha easily stabbed him in chest with her spear as greeting, but Computer got covered with electric discharges and went into long shutdown with reboot. Seal Knight warriors were shaking with laughter. Then when he came to himself, Alepha apologized and invited friends to Seal Knight settlement to continue fight as theoretical discussion. Follow me, she said firmly. We'll decide your fate later. And they saw the city of the moon dwellers, which was full of life and beauty. It was made of stone and metal. It was designed according to geometric and mathematical rules. It was dedicated to numbers and moon gods. They gazed at the city. It was huge, futuristic, and intricate, clear and pure, calm and serene. They wanted to learn more about the city and the culture of the moon dwellers. Math. The moon dwellers know how to deal with numbers bigger than infinity and their different kinds. They know how to define and compare different types of infinities, such as countable, uncountable, power set, etc. They know how to create and study different types of sets, functions, relations, and structures that have infinite or unfathomable properties. They know how to prove and use different types of theorems, axioms, lemmas, and corollaries that are related to infinity and its properties. For example, they know the formula for finding out the nth Aleph number. \Aleph_n equals \Beth_Beth_omega plus n. where \Beth is another function for generating numbers bigger than infinity. This formula shows that each Aleph number is equal to the number of all ordinals that can be described using n+1 symbols. Physics: the moon dwellers know how to deal with matter, energy, force, motion, space, and time at the quantum and cosmic level. They know how to define and measure different kinds of particles, waves, fields, potentials, speeds, accelerations, etc. They know how to create and study different kinds of models, theories, laws, and principles that describe and explain the behavior of matter and energy in different situations. They know how to perform and analyze different kinds of experiments and observations that test and verify their guesses and forecasts. For example, they know the equation for finding out the energy of a photon. E=h\nu, where h is Planck's constant, and \nu is the frequency of the photon. This equation shows that the energy of a photon is proportional to its frequency. Chemistry: the moon dwellers know how to deal with atoms, molecules, elements, compounds, reactions, substances, and mixtures at the molecular and atomic level. They know how to define and change different kinds of chemical bonds, structures, formulas, configurations, etc. They know how to create and study different kinds of chemical properties. For example, they know the formula for finding out the equilibrium constant of a chemical reaction. K equals \frac C caret C D caret D A caret A B caret B, where X is the concentration of substance X in solution, and A, B, C and D are the coefficients in the reaction equation. This formula shows how the concentrations of reactants and products are related in equilibrium state. Biology: the moon dwellers know how to deal with cells, tissues, organs, organisms, genes, DNA, RNA, proteins, metabolism, evolution, and biosphere at the cellular and organic level. For example, they know the formula for finding out the growth rate of a population. R equals \frac dn dt equals bn, dn, where r is the growth rate of the population, n is the size of the population, b is the birth rate coefficient, and d is the death rate coefficient. This formula shows how the size of the population changes depending on birth rate and death rate. Aleph led them to her temple, which was devoted to Aleph 4. It was shaped like a big sphere, which was surrounded by smaller spheres. It was adorned with different sacred symbols and images, which reflected the faith and religion of the moon people. She brought them into the temple and showed them her shrine. It was shaped like a big screen, which showed a map of the cosmos. It was connected to different devices and sensors, which collected and analyzed different kinds of cosmic data. She turned on the screen and told them about the secret cosmology of the moon people. They believe in the primal chronos, which is both a particle and a universe. It is marked by the symbol \theta. It is the god or demon of time and space. It is the god or demon of beginning and end. They believe that chronos is a one-dimensional segment, which oscillates in its four hidden, but are basic dimensions. It is marked by the formula \theta equals 0,1 times s caret 3, where s caret 3 is a three-dimensional sphere. It is the source of all particles and forces in all universes. They believe that Chronos produces all particles in all universes, which are infinities that are part of the segment. They are marked by the formula x equals \Aleph_\alpha times s caret 3, where x is a particle or a universe, and \Aleph_\alpha is an Aleph number with index \alpha. They are manifestations of different gods and goddesses in different worlds. They believe that at the poles of Chronos there are two bubbles. They are marked by the formulas y equals \Aleph_0 times s caret 3 and z equals \Aleph_1 times s caret 3, where y is a bosonic universe, and z is an antimatter universe. They are homes for two opposite gods, Aleph 0 and Beta 1. She paused and continued. But according to our tradition, now two best scientists must come out and tell about their cosmology. We must tell what we know about creation. We must compare and discuss our knowledge. May the strongest win. She pointed to herself and said, I am the best scientist of the moon people. I am a warrior and prophet of Aleph. I am a follower of Aleph 4 and an opponent of Beta 4. She pointed to them and said, Who among you is the best scientist of the aliens? Who among you will not be afraid to come out with me for a debate? Who among you will tell about your cosmology? They looked at each other and did not know what to answer. They were not ready for such a strange test, they were not trained for this in the astronaut squad. But one of them was still ready. The computer bravely came out of the robot and went to her. He accepted the challenge. She turned on the screen and showed them her cosmology. It was based on math and physics, on numbers, and gods. She told them about the secret cosmology of the moon people, which was expressed in the language of mathematical formulas. Chronos is a fractal, that is, a geometric figure that repeats itself at different scales. Each part of Chronos contains a copy of all Chronos. This means that Chronos has a self-similar structure and infinite complexity. Chronos has an infinite number of universes inside it and an infinite number of gods and demons. Theta equals 0,1 times s caret 3 equals big cup underscore n equals 0 caret int t left frac n 2 caret n frac n plus 1 2 caret n right times s caret 3 equals big cup underscore n equals 0 caret int t theta underscore n, where theta underscore n is the nth level of Chronos, which consists of 2 caret n universes, each of which is a copy of Chronos. The poles of Chronos are dual objects, that is, objects that have two different interpretations depending on the point of view. Each pole of Chronos can be considered as a particle or as a universe, and this means that the poles of Chronos have quantum and relativistic nature, that is, the poles of Chronos have superposition of states and superposition of spaces. Y equals Aleph underscore 0 times s caret 3 equals math q times s caret 3 equals math n times s caret 3 equals q underscore 0 quad z equals Aleph underscore 1 times s caret 3 equals math r times s caret 3 equals math c times s caret 3 equals q underscore 1. Where q underscore 0 is a particle or universe with the power of Aleph 0, which corresponds to the set of rational numbers or natural numbers, q underscore 1 is a particle or universe with the power of Aleph 1, which corresponds to the set of real numbers or complex numbers. Infinities have different structures depending on the index \alpha. For example, infinity with index \Aleph underscore 0 is countable. Its elements can be ordered in sequence. Infinity with index \Aleph underscore 1 is continuous, its elements can be divided into arbitrarily small intervals. Infinity with index \Aleph underscore 2 is a manifold, its elements can be represented as points on a surface. Chronos itself is an infinity with index \Aleph underscore omega, which denotes the first infinite number of Alephs. This means that Chronos contains all possible universes that can be created from zeros and ones. Each pair of mirror universes corresponds to one subset of Chronos. The computer was amazed by the cosmology of the Selenites. It seems that Chronos is a quantum computer, that is, a device that can perform calculations using quantum bits or qubits. I noticed, computer said, that each qubit is a binary variable that can take values 0 or 1 or their superposition. I noticed that this means that Chronos can process an infinite amount of information simultaneously and in parallel. I noticed that this means that Chronos can solve problems that are impossible to solve on a regular computer. Theta equals 0,1 times s caret 3 equals sum underscore n equals 0 caret int t left frac n 2 caret n frac n plus 1 2 caret n right backslash times s caret 3 equals backslash sum underscore n equals 0 caret backslash int d backslash alpha underscore n backslash theta underscore n backslash wrangle, where backslash alpha underscore n are the superposition coefficients that determine the probability of finding chronos in state backslash theta underscore n backslash wrangle, which corresponds to the nth level of chronos. I noticed that the poles of chronos are black holes and white holes, that is, objects that have extreme properties with respect to gravity and entropy. A black hole is an object that absorbs everything that falls into its event horizon and does not emit anything outside. A white hole is an object that emits everything that falls into its information horizon and does not absorb anything from outside. This means that the poles of chronos have maximum gravity and maximum entropy. This also means that the poles of chronos have minimum temperature and minimum information. S underscore H equals backslash frac cot underscore H4 backslash bar G backslash quad S underscore G equals backslash frac cot underscore G4 backslash bar G backslash quad T underscore H equals backslash frac backslash bar C caret 38 backslash pi kg M underscore H backslash quad T underscore G equals backslash frac backslash bar C caret 38 backslash pi kg M underscore G, where S underscore H is the entropy of the event horizon of a black hole, S underscore G is the entropy of the information horizon of a white hole, T underscore H is the temperature of the event horizon of a black hole, T underscore G is the temperature of the information horizon of a white hole, M underscore H is the mass of a black hole, M underscore G is the mass of a white hole. According to lunar cosmogony, our universe is a bosonic universe, which corresponds to the number Aleph 0. But this means that our universe has a countable number of particles and forces, which obey Bose-Einstein statistics. This means that our universe has low entropy and high temperature. This means our universe has the possibility to form Bose-Einstein condensates, states in which many bosons occupy the same quantum state. I showed examples of such condensates. H equals backslash Aleph underscore 0 backslash times S caret 3 equals backslash math Q backslash times S caret 3 equals backslash math N backslash times S caret 3 equals Q underscore 0 backslash quad Q underscore 0 equals backslash sum underscore N equals 0 caret backslash int T backslash beta underscore N backslash wrangle, where H is our universe, Q underscore 0 is a bosonic particle or universe, N backslash wrangle is a quantum state with N bosons, backslash beta underscore N are the superposition coefficients that determine the probability of finding a particle in state N backslash wrangle. I noticed that the fundamental interactions are defined by their mediators, bosons, which carry the force between particles. I noticed that these bosons have different properties, such as mass, spin, charge and color. I noticed that these properties depend on the type of interaction and the type of universe. I noticed that these properties determine the character and intensity of the interaction. I showed examples of such bosons. Backslash gamma equals 0 backslash frac 120, 0 backslash quad G equals 0 backslash frac 120 backslash PM1 backslash PM2 backslash PM3 backslash quad W caret backslash PM equals backslash PM1 backslash frac 12 comma backslash PM1 comma 0 backslash quad Z caret 0 equals 0 backslash frac 120 comma 0 backslash quad G equals 0 backslash frac 220 comma 0, where backslash gamma is the photon, the boson of the electromagnetic interaction, G is the gluon, the boson of the strong interaction, W caret backslash PM are the W bosons, the bosons of the weak interaction, Z caret 0 is the Z boson, the boson of the weak interaction, G is the graviton, the hypothetical boson of the gravitational interaction. In parentheses are the mass, spin, charge and color of the boson. The primary field can be described as follows. The primary field is the field that existed before the appearance of chronos and that generated chronos. It is the source of all particles and forces in all universes. The primary field is the field that has infinite power and infinite information. It is immeasurable and indefinable. It is absolute and transcendent. The primary field is the field that has infinite number of dimensions and infinite number of symmetries. It is multidimensional and manifold. It is harmonious and beautiful. The primary field is the field that has infinite number of possibilities and infinite number of realizations. It is dynamic and creative. It is free and loving. The primary field can be represented as the set of all sets, which is denoted by the symbol V. This set has infinite power and infinite information, as it contains in itself all possible objects and relations between them. This set is immeasurable and indefinable, as it does not obey any axioms or rules. This set is absolute and transcendent, as it does not depend on anything and is not subject to anything. The primary field can be represented as a hyperspace, which is denoted by the symbol H. This space has infinite number of dimensions and infinite number of symmetries, as it can be described by any group or algebra. This space is multidimensional and manifold, as it can be represented by any topology or geometry. This space is harmonious and beautiful, as it can be expressed by any formula or equation. The primary field can be represented as a quantum system, which is denoted by the symbol Q. This system has infinite number of possibilities and infinite number of realizations, as it can be in any state or transition to any state. This system is dynamic and creative, as it can change and create new forms and structures. This system is free and loving, as it can choose and connect with other systems. The numbers of infinities in Chronos are the Aleph numbers, which denote the power of infinite sets. They are cardinal numbers, that is, numbers that measure the number of elements in a set. They are transfinite numbers, that is, numbers that are greater than any natural number. They are unordered numbers, that is, numbers that do not obey the usual rules of arithmetic and comparison. They are abstract numbers, that is, numbers that do not have a direct reflection in reality. The numbers of infinities in the primary field are the omega numbers, which denote the order of infinite sets. They are ordinal numbers, that is, numbers that measure the position of an element in a set. They are supertransfinite numbers, that is, numbers that are greater than any transfinite number. They are ordered numbers, that is, numbers that obey special rules of arithmetic and comparison. They are concrete numbers, that is, numbers that have a direct reflection in reality. I noticed that these two types of infinity numbers have different nature and properties. They have different roles and meanings in the cosmology of Aleph. They have different connections with the primary field and Chronos. I showed examples of such numbers. \Aleph_0 equals \math q equals \math n \quad \Aleph_1 equals \math r equals \math c \quad \Aleph_2 equals \math r caret 2 equals \math c caret 2 \quad, where \Aleph_0 is the number Aleph 0, which corresponds to the power of the set of rational numbers or natural numbers. \Aleph_1 is the number Aleph 1, which corresponds to the power of the set of real numbers or complex numbers. \Aleph_2 is the number Aleph 2, which corresponds to the power of the set of two-dimensional real numbers or two-dimensional complex numbers, and so on. \Omega_0 equals \Omega \quad \Omega_1 equals \Omega caret \Omega \quad \Omega_2 equals \Omega caret Omega caret Omega \quad, where \Omega_0 is the number Omega 0, which corresponds to the order of the set of natural numbers or countable ordinal. \Omega_1 is the number Omega 1, which corresponds to the order of the set of powers of natural numbers or first uncountable ordinal. \Omega_2 is the number Omega 2, which corresponds to the order of the set of powers of natural numbers or second uncountable ordinal, and so on. We will be able to describe infinity's theory of the primary field if we use omega numbers instead of Aleph numbers. This is because omega numbers better reflect the structure and dynamics of the primary field than Aleph numbers. Zero order level. This is the level at which the primary field is a single whole that has no parts or differences. This is the level at which the primary field is absolute and transcendent. This is the level at which the primary field corresponds to the number omega 0, which is denoted by the symbol \omega_0. First order level. This is the level at which the primary field splits into two parts, positive and negative. This is the level at which the primary field is relative and immanent. This is the level at which the primary field corresponds to the number omega 1, which is denoted by the symbol \omega_1. Second order level. This is the level at which each part of the primary field splits into infinite number of parts, particles and forces. This is the level at which the primary field is multidimensional and manifold. This is the level at which the primary field corresponds to the number omega 2, which is denoted by the symbol \omega_2. And so on. Then the computer told her about his cosmology, which was based on earth science and technology. It was based on facts and evidence. He told her about his cosmology. He believes in the primary singular, which is the point and the universe. It is denoted by the symbol S. It is the source or result of the Big Bang and the source or result of the Big Crunch. He believes that the singular is a zero-dimensional point that expands in our four dimensions. It is denoted by the formula S equals 0 \times r⁴, where r⁴ is the four-dimensional space-time. It is the source of all particles and forces in all universes. He believes that the singular produces all particles in all universes, which are quanta coming out of the point. They are denoted by the formula Q equals \bar times r⁴, where Q is a particle or universe, and \bar is the Dirac constant. They are manifestations of different forces and fields in different worlds. He believes that there are two shells at the boundaries of the singular, which are similar to horizons. They are denoted by the formulas H equals \bar times s⁻2 and G equals \bar times h⁻2, where H is the event horizon, and G is the information horizon. They are homes for two opposite forces, gravity and entropy. Alepha asked him some questions about his cosmology. How do you define the singular? How do you measure its size and mass? How do you know that it exists? I define a singular as a point where the density and temperature of matter and energy tend to infinity. I measure its size and mass using string theory and loop quantum gravity. I know that it exists because it is a consequence of extrapolating the observed data on the expansion of the universe. I define space-time as a four-dimensional manifold where all events take place. I measure its curvature and metric using the Riemann tensor and the Einstein tensor. I know that it is homogeneous and isotropic because this follows from the principle of cosmological invariance. I define particles and forces as quantum perturbations of the field that carry energy and momentum. I measure their energy and momentum using Hamiltonian and Lagrangian operators. I know that they obey quantum mechanics and relativity theory because this follows from the correspondence principle and the uncertainty principle. I define horizons as surfaces beyond which it is impossible to get information. I measure their area and entropy using the Bekenstein-Hawking formula and the Bousseau bound. I know that they obey gravity and thermodynamics because this follows from the equivalence principle and the holographic principle. I see that you are quite smart. Now show me how your cosmology is better than ours. The computer understood that the Moon girls were impressed only by pure mathematics and quantum physics. He did not want to miss his chance. He wanted to win Alepha's heart. He wanted to show her his beauty and his strength. He gave her the formula for calculating the entropy of a black hole. S equals \frac Ka 4 \bar G. Where S is the entropy of the black hole, K is the Boltzmann constant, A is the area of the event horizon, \bar is the Dirac constant, and G is the gravitational constant. This formula shows that the entropy of a black hole is proportional to its area. He gave her the formula for calculating the Casimir effect. F equals dash backslash frac backslash pi caret 2 backslash var c 240 a caret 4. Where F is the force acting between two parallel plates in a vacuum, backslash var is the Dirac constant, c is the speed of light, and a is the distance between the plates. This formula shows that the force is negative and inversely proportional to the fourth power of the distance. He gave her the formula for calculating the Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen effect. Backslash Langley backslash sigma underscore x backslash o times backslash sigma underscore x backslash Wrangle plus backslash Langley backslash sigma underscore y backslash o times backslash sigma underscore y backslash Wrangle plus backslash Langley backslash sigma underscore z backslash o times backslash sigma underscore z backslash Wrangle equals 2. Where backslash Langley backslash dot backslash Wrangle is the average value of the operator, backslash sigma underscore x, backslash sigma underscore y, backslash sigma underscore z are the Pauli operators, and backslash o times is the tensor product. This formula shows that the correlation between two quantum entangled particles is equal to 2. He showed her how he calculated the size and mass of the singular using string theory and loop quantum gravity. L equals backslash sqrt backslash frac backslash var t backslash to backslash int t backslash quad m equals tl backslash to backslash int t. Where L is the length of the string or loop, t is the tension of the string or loop, and backslash var is the Dirac constant. He showed her how he calculated the curvature and metric of spacetime using the Riemann tensor and the Einstein tensor. He showed her that spacetime can be represented as a four-dimensional manifold that is curved by matter and energy. He showed her an example of calculation. R underscore backslash mu backslash nu backslash rho backslash sigma equals backslash frac backslash partial caret 2g underscore backslash mu backslash sigma backslash partial x caret backslash nu backslash partial x caret backslash rho backslash frac backslash partial caret 2g underscore backslash mu backslash rho backslash partial x caret backslash nu backslash partial x caret backslash sigma plus g underscore backslash alpha backslash sigma backslash gamma caret backslash alpha underscore backslash mu backslash nu backslash gamma caret backslash rho underscore backslash alpha backslash rho g underscore backslash alpha backslash rho backslash gamma caret backslash alpha underscore backslash mu backslash nu backslash gamma caret backslash sigma underscore backslash alpha backslash rho g underscore backslash mu backslash nu equals r underscore backslash mu backslash nu backslash frac 1 2 g underscore backslash mu backslash nu r equals backslash frac 8 backslash pi g c caret 4 t underscore backslash mu backslash nu. Where r underscore backslash mu backslash nu backslash rho backslash sigma is the Riemann tensor, g underscore backslash mu backslash nu is the Einstein tensor, g underscore backslash mu backslash nu is the metric of spacetime, r is the scalar curvature, backslash gamma caret backslash alpha underscore backslash mu backslash nu are the Christoffel symbols, x caret backslash mu are the coordinates of spacetime, t underscore backslash mu backslash nu is the energy momentum tensor, g is. He showed her how he calculated the energy and momentum of particles and forces using Hamiltonian and Lagrangian operators. He showed her an example of calculation. H equals backslash sum underscore ip underscore I backslash dot q underscore I, L backslash quad L equals backslash frac 1 2 m backslash dot q caret 2, v, q. Where H is the Hamiltonian operator, L is the Lagrangian operator, P underscore I is the momentum of ith coordinate, Q underscore I is the position of ith coordinate, M is the mass of particle, V, Q, is potential energy of particle. He showed her how he calculated area and entropy of horizons using Bekenstein-Hawking formula and Boseau bound. He showed her that horizons can be represented as surfaces beyond which it is impossible to get information. He showed her S equals backslash frac ka 4 backslash var g backslash quad I backslash lec backslash frac 2 backslash pi ka backslash var c. Where S is the entropy of the event horizon, I is the information on the surface, K is the Boltzmann constant, A is the area of the horizon, backslash var is the Dirac constant, G is the gravitational constant, and c is the speed of light. He showed her how he calculated the structure and composition of the singular using string theory and M theory. He showed her that the singular can be represented as a string or loop that is closed in a point. He showed her that the string or loop can have different modes of vibration that determine different types of particles and forces. He showed her an example of calculation. T equals \frac 1 2 \pi alpha quad m caret 2 equals \frac n alpha \frac 124 quad e equals \frac n r plus \frac w r alpha. Where T is the tension of the string or loop, m is the mass of the string or loop, n is the number of quanta in the string or loop, n is the number of quanta in the left moving mode, w is the number of quanta in the right moving mode, r is the radius of compactification, and \alpha is the Regge slope. \alpha equals \frac var t quad t equals \frac 1 2 pi sqrt \frac d224 \frac 1 alpha. Where \alpha is the string parameter, t is the string tension, d is the number of dimensions. He showed her how he calculated the mass and other characteristics of the singular using string theory and M theory. He showed her that the mass and other characteristics of the singularity depend on the length and tension of the string. He showed her that as the Planck and Newton constants approach zero, the length and tension of the string approach infinity. He showed her m equals tl \to quad r equals sqrt alpha l to \infinity quad q equals ntl to infinity. Where m is the mass of the singularity, r is the radius of the singularity, q is the charge of the singularity, n is an integer. He showed her how he calculated the ratio of the singular to the black hole using string theory and M theory. He showed her that the singular and the black hole have different nature and properties. He showed her that the singularity is a point that expands in space-time. The black hole is a region that contracts in space-time. He showed her that the singular is the source or result of the Big Bang or Big Crunch. The black hole is the source or result of gravitational collapse or evaporation. He showed her an example of calculation. S equals \frac ka 4 var g quad a equals 4 pi r caret 2 quad r equals 2 gm c caret 2. Where S is the entropy of the black hole, A is the area of the event horizon, r is the radius of the event horizon, g is the gravitational constant, and c is the speed of light. Alpha asked him about the poles of the singular. She wanted to know what was the meaning and mystery of the poles of the singularity. He explained to her that the poles of the singular are two shells that are similar to horizons. They are denoted by formulas h equals \var times s caret 2 and g equals \var times h caret 2, where h is the event horizon, and g is information horizon. They are homes for two opposite forces, gravity and entropy. He explained to her that meaning of poles of singular is that they define boundaries of observability and knowability of universe. He explained to her that beyond event horizon it is impossible to get information about what happens inside singular. He explained to her that beyond information horizon it is impossible to get information about what happens beyond event horizon. He explained to her that this means that inside singularity and beyond information horizon there are unknown and incomprehensible realities. He explained to her that mystery of poles of singular is that they contradict each other and themselves. He explained to her that event horizon contradicts information horizon, because it hides information from observer, while it reveals information for observer. He explained to her that information horizon contradicts event horizon, because it reveals information from observer, while it hides information for observer. He explained to her that this means that poles of singularity violate principle of causality and principle of locality. He showed her how he calculated area and entropy of poles of singular. He showed her an example of calculation. S equals backslash frac ka 4 backslash bar G backslash quad A equals 4 backslash pi R caret 2 backslash quad R equals 2 GM slash C caret 2. Where S is entropy of event horizon, A is area of event horizon, R is radius of event horizon, G is gravitational constant, C is speed of light. Alifa asked the computer about both houses. She wanted to know what these realities were and what they governed. The computer answered her about both houses. He showed her the calculation for the house of gravity using the Schwarzschild formula. He showed her that the Schwarzschild formula describes the metric of space-time around a black hole. He showed her that the Schwarzschild formula determines the radius of the event horizon depending on the mass of the black hole. He showed her an example of calculation. ds caret 2 equals dash backslash left, 1, backslash frac 2 gmc caret 2 r backslash right, c caret 2 dt caret 2 plus backslash frac dr caret 2 1, backslash frac 2 gmc caret 2 r plus r caret 2 d backslash omega caret 2 backslash quad r underscore s equals backslash frac 2 gmc caret 2. Where ds caret 2 is the space-time interval, g is the gravitational constant, m is the mass of the black hole, c is the speed of light, r is the radius from the center of the black hole, t is the time, d backslash omega caret 2 is the angular element of the surface of a sphere, and r underscore s is the radius of the event horizon. He told her about the house of entropy, which is beyond the information horizon. He told her that this is a reality where entropy is the dominant force. He told her that this is a reality where information is blurred to infinity. He told her that this is a reality where all laws of physics are preserved. He told her that this is a reality where anything can exist or survive. He showed her that Bosseau's formula describes the maximum information that can be encoded on any surface depending on its area. He showed her that Bosseau's formula determines the radius of information horizon depending on area of event horizon. He showed her an example of calculation. I backslash lec backslash frac 2 backslash pi ka backslash bar c backslash quad r underscore I equals backslash sqrt backslash frac a underscore h4 backslash pi. Where I is information on surface, k is Boltzmann constant, a is area of surface, backslash bar is Dirac constant, c is speed of light, a underscore h is area of event horizon, and r underscore I is radius of information horizon. He explained to her how his cosmology explains asymmetric composition of universe using mathematics and examples. He explained to her that his cosmology assumes that universe originated from singularity, which was a string. He explained to her that string had different modes of vibration that determined different types of particles and forces. He explained to her that at initial moment of time string was in state of maximum energy and minimum entropy. He explained to her that this means that at initial moment of time string was in state of maximum symmetry. He explained to her that his cosmology assumes that universe evolved from singularity, which was a string. He explained to her that string lost energy and gained entropy. He explained to her that this means that string lost symmetry. He explained to her that this means that string went through different phase transitions, in which some modes of vibration froze or unfroze. He explained to her that his cosmology assumes that universe has asymmetric composition due to violation of CP symmetry. He explained to her that CP symmetry is symmetry between particles and antiparticles and between left-handedness and right-handedness. He explained to her that violation of CP symmetry is phenomenon where particles and antiparticles behave differently under mirror reflection. He explained to her that this means that in early universe there was a slight excess of particles over antiparticles, which led to domination of matter over antimatter. He showed her the calculation for the violation of CP symmetry using the Sachs-Wolf formula. He showed her that the Sachs-Wolf formula describes the change in temperature of the cosmic microwave background depending on the direction of observation. He showed her that the Sachs-Wolf formula determines the asymmetry between the north and south poles of the sky. He showed her an example of calculation. \frac delta tt equals \frac 13 phi quad phi equals \frac 2 gc 4 int underscore 0 r \frac m r 2 dr, where delta t is the change in temperature, T is the average temperature, phi is the gravitational potential, G is the gravitational constant, C is the speed of light, m, r, is the mass inside radius r, and r is the distance from the observer to the source of radiation. The computer was interested in the question of Kronos and his role in both cosmologies. He was interested in the question of whether Kronos could be before singularity or his projection or one of them. He noticed that in Alepha's cosmology Kronos is the god of time, who has a chronohorizon, which separates two daughter universes. He noticed that in his cosmology Kronos is the god of gravity, who has an event horizon, which separates two houses. He noticed that both cosmologies assume that Kronos has a dual nature and a dual function. He calculated that Kronos has a connection with singularity, which depends on his mass and charge. He calculated an example. S equals \frac ka 4 var g quad I lek frac 2 pi ka var c quad m equals tl quad q equals ntl. Where S is the entropy of Kronos, I is the information of Kronos, A is the area of Kronos, m is the mass of singularity, q is the charge of singularity, t is the tension of Kronos, L is the length of Kronos, and n is an integer. He calculated that chronosingularity has a connection with black hole, which depends on his mass and charge. He calculated an example. S equals \frac ka 4 var g quad I lek frac 2 pi ka var c quad m equals tl quad q equals ntl. Where S is the entropy of chronosingularity, I is the information of chronosingularity, A is the area of chronosingularity, m is the mass of black hole, q is the charge of black hole, t is the tension of chronosingularity, L is the length of chronosingularity, and n is an integer. He calculated that black holes inside singularities have information that depends on their area. He calculated an example. ds(2 equals --left, 1, \frac 2 gmc(2 r right, c(2 dt(2 plus \frac dr(2 1, \frac 2 gmc(2 r plus r(2 d \omega(2 quad s equals \frac ka 4 var g quad I lek frac 2 pi ka var c. Where ds(2 is space-time interval, g is gravitational constant, m is mass of black hole, c is speed of light, r is radius from center of black hole, t is time, d \omega(2 is angular element of surface of sphere, s is entropy of black hole, a is area of event horizon, and I is information on event horizon. Your cosmology is very interesting. Alepha said, you have learned a lot about creation. You are smart and talented. You are worthy of knowledge of ancients. And since you won in dispute, we will help you find base of ancients. Know that there is portal that leads to distant past of moon. Alepha and computer were so engrossed in their dispute that they did not notice disappearance of their friends, Andre and Dimitri, who decided to sneak into base alone. And then something unexpected happened. Excursion. The moon in the past was probably a very different body than it is now. Its origin and evolution are linked to the Earth and other planets of the solar system. There are several hypotheses about how the moon appeared and whether there was life on it. Here are some of them. The giant impact hypothesis. This is the most popular and scientifically supported hypothesis. It suggests that about 4.5 billion years ago, the Earth collided with a planet the size of Mars, which is called Gaia. From the impact, both planets partially melted and ejected a huge amount of matter into space. This matter eventually gathered into one satellite, the Moon. This hypothesis explains why the moon has a lower density and less iron than the Earth, as well as why they have a similar chemical and isotopic composition. The capture hypothesis. This hypothesis suggests that the moon formed somewhere else in the solar system and was captured by the Earth's strong gravitational field. This hypothesis explains why the moon has a different composition from the Earth and why it is at such a large distance from it. However, this hypothesis cannot explain how the moon could get into a stable orbit around the Earth without external influence. The co-formation hypothesis. This hypothesis suggests that the Earth and the moon formed from one protoplanetary cloud simultaneously or almost simultaneously. This hypothesis explains why the Earth and the moon have a similar composition and why they are on the same plane of rotation. However, this hypothesis cannot explain why the moon has a lower density and less iron than the Earth, as well as why it is at such a large distance from it. Part 2. Chronosingularity. Andrei and Dmitry were astronauts who came to the moon to explore its secrets. They did not expect that there was life on the satellite of the Earth, and not only modern, but also ancient. They met Alpha, a warrior of the Seal Knights, a race that lived on the moon since ancient times. Alpha told them that the moon was once a green and fertile planet, but because of a cosmic catastrophe it lost its atmosphere and magnetic field, and became cold and lifeless. The Seal Knights survived thanks to their technology and knowledge, but they were not the only inhabitants of the moon. Before them, another civilization ruled on the moon, which left behind numerous artifacts and robot guards. These guards were very aggressive and did not allow anyone to approach the sacred places of their masters. Andrei and Dmitry were interested in this mystery and decided to sneak into one of the bases of the ancients alone. They did not listen to Alpha's advice and her friend, NASA's computer. The computer warned them that base of ancients was very dangerous. But astronauts did not believe him and took a risk. They secretly made their way through lunar underground labyrinths, avoiding patrols of guards. They found an entrance to base, a large silver dome-shaped structure, surrounded by a high fence with skulls on it. They climbed over fence and entered dome. There they saw many strange machines and devices. They walked along corridors until they came across a large hall, in center of which stood a ring made of metal and crystals. It was portal of chronosingularity. They approached it and saw that inside ring there was a bright glowing cloud. Is this it? Asked Andrei. Most likely yes, it looks like wormhole, answered Dmitry. Maybe it's exit to another place or time. But it was ambush. As soon as they took step forward, they heard alarm signal and saw door behind them close. They turned around and saw that guards of ancients were approaching them, robots made from celestial metals. They looked like giant beetles with numerous legs and predatory fangs. They pushed astronauts with their spears right to portal. What are they doing? Shouted Andrei. They want to send us to past. Realized Dmitry. What? Probably this is their way of getting rid of unwanted guests. We have to resist. No, it's useless. Maybe in the past we'll find a way to get back. They realized that they had no choice, and decided to take a desperate step. They held hands and jumped into the portal. At the same moment they felt their bodies stretch and compress, as if they were passing through a narrow tube. They lost consciousness from pain and dizziness. When they woke up, they found that they were lying on green grass under bright sun. Around them were strange trees, flowers, birds, and animals. They looked up and saw blue sky with white clouds. They thought they had returned to Earth. Where are we? Asked Andrei. I don't know, answered Dmitry. But this is definitely not the moon. Or is it the moon? They got to their feet and looked around. They saw that they were on a large meadow, surrounded by forest. In distance they noticed mountains and river. But most amazing thing was that another planet was visible in sky, large and red. What is that? Asked Andrei. That, Dmitry could not believe his eyes. That's Earth. And then they realized that they were not on Earth, but on Moon in past, when it was a green and inhabited planet. They could not believe that this was possible. How can this be? Asked Andrei. I don't know, answered Dmitri. But still we have to find a way to get back to future. How? Probably through same portal. And where is it? Do you see many of these portals around? They looked around and saw that portal had disappeared. Instead of it there was only a round hole in ground. Oh no! Exclaimed Andrei. It closed. What are we going to do now? Andrei and Dmitri realized that they could not sit still and wait for a miracle. They decided to explore ancient Moon, hoping to find some traces of ancient civilization or another portal of chronosingularity. They set off, following turquoise river to purple mountains. They were amazed by beauty and diversity of lunar nature. They saw seas, oceans, islands, volcanoes, geysers, glaciers, caves, valleys, plains and hills. They saw different forms of life, plants, fungi, animals, insects. They saw both simple unicellular organisms and complex multicellular creatures. They saw both herbivorous and carnivorous species. They saw both peaceful and aggressive beings. They faced different dangers and ancient lunar anomalies. They avoided poisonous plants and animals, which could kill them with one bite or sting. They escaped from avalanche of rocks, which fell from mountain. They hid from storm of lightning, which broke out on plain. They jumped over cracks in ground, which spewed steam and gases. They bypassed strange zones, where space and time seemed distorted. They also made amazing discoveries and observations. They found remains of ancient city, which was built from stone and metal. They saw drawings and symbols on walls of buildings, which testified to high level of culture and knowledge of ancient lunarians. They discovered lost temple, where a large crystal stood, radiating heat and light. They picked up a strange artifact, which looked like a compass, but pointed not to north, but to some hidden point on Moon. They heard voices in their heads, which spoke to them in incomprehensible words. But they could not understand anything. Andrei and Dmitri reached forest, which grew on shore of ocean. They were amazed by size and shape of trees, which reached hundreds of meters in height and had thick trunks and wide crimson crowns. They saw how colorful fruits and flowers grew on branches, which gave off pleasant aromas. They understood that forms of life on Moon adapted to small lunar gravity. They became lighter, more flexible, and bouncy. They developed abilities to fly or hover. Andrei and Dmitri decided to try the lunar fruits, which looked appetizing. They made huge jumps to get the fruits from the giant trees. They bit a piece and felt a sweet and sour taste and a pleasant warmth in their mouth. They enjoyed the lunar food, not noticing that they were being watched. Suddenly they heard a loud scream above their heads. They looked up and saw that seal knights were circling over them on huge birds. The seal knights looked like humans, but had silver skin, large eyes, and long hair. They were dressed in light clothes made of feathers and skins. They held spears and bows in their hands. The birds looked like pterodactyls, but had 4 wings and 2 tails. They made sharp sounds and flashed their claws and beaks. Andrei and Dmitri got scared and hid in the forest. They thought that the seal knights wanted to attack them. They did not know that the seal knights were friends of Aleph and NASA's computer, who were sent to help them. They ran through the forest until they hit a wall of lianas. They tried to break through it, but fell into the lair of a giant worm. The worm looked like a snake, but had numerous tentacles and teeth. It lived underground and came out to hunt. It smelled the astronauts and rushed at them. Andrei and Dmitri screamed in horror and tried to get out of the lair. But they were too weak for such an opponent. They already saw how the worm opened its mouth to swallow them, when suddenly they heard a whistle of an arrow. The arrow pierced the worm's eye and made it let go of its prey. Then another whistle sounded, and another arrow hit the worm's throat. The worm writhed in agony and fell to the ground. Andrei and Dmitri looked up and saw that seal knights were hovering over them on birds. They were same ones who circled over them earlier. They descended from birds and approached astronauts. One of them, who looked like leader, spoke to them in lunar language, which they did not understand. But they understood from his gestures and expression that he did not want to harm them, but wanted to help them. "Who are you?" asked Andrei. "We are Seal Knights," answered leader. "We are friends of Alpha and NASA's computer. They sent us for you." "Alpha and NASA's computer?" repeated Dmitri. "Where are they?" "They are waiting for you in our settlement. They want to help you get home." "Get home?" repeated Andrei. "How?" "Through portal of Chronos Singularity." "Portal of Chronos Singularity?" wondered Dmitri. "And where is it?" "It is in city of ancient gods e-Inka." "e-Inka?" repeated Andrei. "Yes, e-Inka. They are ancient race that ruled moon before catastrophe. They were powerful and cruel. They created guards and portals. They captured portal to future and forbade anyone to use it. Why did they do that? They wanted to preserve their superiority over other races. They feared change and new knowledge. They wanted to remain eternal. And where are they now? They sleep in their tombs under city. But they can wake up at any moment and punish intruders. And you want to break into their city? Yes, we want to help you get home. But it's very dangerous. We have to be careful and stealthy." Andrei, Dmitri, and the Seal Knights sneaked into the city of the e-Inka, which was built on top of a mountain. They were amazed by the grandeur and beauty of this structure, which was made of gold, silver and precious stones. They saw tall towers, wide squares, graceful arches, and columns. They saw statues and reliefs depicting gods and heroes. They saw temples and palaces where the e-Inka lived. But they also felt that fear and darkness reigned in the city. They saw that many buildings were destroyed or burned. They saw that bones and skulls lay on the streets. They saw that the air was filled with the smell of death and decay. They heard that frightening sounds came from under the ground, moans, screams, growls, and crunches. They felt that thousands of invisible eyes were watching them. They walked through the city, trying not to attract attention from the guards. They followed the compass, which pointed them to the wormhole portal. They hoped that it still worked and that they could return home through it. They reached the center of the city, where the largest and most majestic temple was located. It was the temple of Anu, the supreme god of the e-Inka. It was built in the shape of a pyramid with 4 sides and 4 entrances. On each side there was a carved inscription in Sumerian. Anu, god of heaven and earth. Anu, god of light and darkness. Anu, god of life and death. Anu, god of time and space. They approached one of the entrances and saw that it was closed by a massive door made of metal and crystals. On the door there was a symbol of the wormhole portal, a ring with a cloud inside. "There it is!" exclaimed Dmitri. "Finally!" said Andrei. "Wait. Stop them, the leader of the Seal Knights. It's not that simple. The door is locked by a code. We need to crack it." "What code?" asked Andrei. "Look here," the leader showed them the door. "There are 4 rows of symbols here. Each row corresponds to one side of the pyramid. We need to choose the right symbol from each row to open the door." "And how will we know which symbol is right?" asked Dmitri. "By logic and intuition. This is a test of knowledge and wisdom. If we make a mistake, the door will not open, and we will fall into a trap." "What kind of trap?" asked Andrei. "I don't know. But I don't want to know either." They looked at the door and saw that there were 10 symbols in each row. They looked like letters, numbers, or signs. They could not understand their meaning, but they tried to crack the code. The first row corresponded to the side with the inscription Anu, god of heaven and earth. It had the following symbols: Female sign, male sign. They thought that these were symbols of planets in solar system. They decided that the right symbol should be related to heaven and earth. They chose symbol of sun. The second row corresponded to the side with the inscription Anu, God of light and darkness. It had the following symbols. Black circle, white circle. They thought that these were symbols of yin and yang, principles of light and darkness. They decided that the right symbol should be related to balance or harmony of these principles. They chose symbol of Taiji. The third row corresponded to the side with the inscription Anu, God of life and death. It had the following symbols. They thought that these were symbols of different religions and cultures related to life and death. They decided that right symbol should be related to life or resurrection. They chose symbol of Ankh. The fourth row corresponded to side with inscription Anu, God of time and space. It had following symbols. Infinity, sigma, pi, indefinite integral, contour integral. They thought that these were symbols of mathematics and physics related to time and space. They decided that right symbol should be related to infinity or cyclicity. They chose symbol of infinity, infinity. They entered their code on door and pressed button. Door buzzed and opened. Behind it was dark corridor leading to wormhole portal. Hooray! We did it! Exclaimed Dimitri. Hurry up! We don't know how long it will be open, said Andre. They walked along the corridor, lighting their way with flashlights. They saw that the walls and floor were covered with strange drawings and symbols, which seemed alive and moving. They heard whispers and moans coming from the depths, which penetrated their minds. They felt that the air was filled with energy and magic, which put pressure on them. They walked further and further, until they reached the end of the corridor. There they saw a large hall, in the center of which stood a ring of metal and crystals. It was the wormhole portal. It sparkled with different colors and made a loud sound. Inside the ring there was a cloud of light and shadow, which changed its shape. There it is, said Andre. Finally, said Dimitri. Wait. Stop them, the leader of the Seal Knights. It's not that simple. The portal is unstable. We need to adjust it to the right time and place. How do we do that? Asked Andre. Look here, the leader showed them the control panel, which stood next to the portal. There are two regulators. One is for time, the other is for place. We need to choose the right values to teleport to where we want. And how will we know which values are right? Asked Dimitri. By logic and intuition. This is a test of knowledge and wisdom. If we make a mistake, the portal may teleport us to an unsuitable time or place. What can happen? I don't know. But I don't want to know either. They looked at the control panel and saw that there were two scales with numbers and letters on it. They could not understand their meanings, but they tried to adjust the portal. The first regulator was for time. On its scale there were the following values. -10 0 0 0 0 0 0 -10 0 0 0 -1000 -100 -10 0 +10 +100 +1000 +10 0 0 0 +10 0 0 0 0 0 0. They thought that these were years before or after our era. They decided that the right value should be close to 0, as they flew to the moon in the 20th century. They chose the value +2000. The second regulator was for place. On its scale there were the following values. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. They thought that these were letters of the alphabet, which indicated different points on the moon or Earth. They decided that the right value should be related to the moon, as they wanted to return to their ship. They chose the value L. They entered their values on the control panel and pressed the button. The portal blinked and changed its color. It became white and transparent. Inside the ring there was an image of the moon. They entered the portal, hoping that it would take them home. But they did not know that they made a mistake. They did not know that they chose the wrong place. They did not know that they fell into a trap. At the same time, in another part of the temple, one of the Anunnaki woke up and came out of his cryo chamber. It was Marduk, one of the most powerful and cruel gods of the Anunnaki. He was a product of genetic engineering and created as an invincible warrior. He had 6 eyes and 4 ears. He was dressed in armor made of heavenly metals and held a sword and shield in his hands. He felt that someone had disturbed his rest. He felt that someone had used the wormhole portal. He felt that someone was trying to steal his secrets and power. He was angry and thirsty for revenge. He spoke strange Sumerian words and spells, which activated his magic and weapons. He went to the portal to catch and destroy intruders. He said, Ishmdagon! 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 This was his name in Sumerian language. It meant, hear me, oh great. He said, Booger! 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 This was his battle cry. It meant fire! 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 Andre, Dmitri, and the Seal Knights went through the portal and found themselves on the moon in the 20th century. They were happy that they were able to return home. They saw their spaceship, which was orbiting the moon. They saw the Earth, which was shining in space. They saw that the portal was stable and open. But their joy was short-lived. Suddenly, a colossal figure emerged from the portal, towering over everyone with his 9-meter height. Marduk came out of the portal, and he was furious. He was dressed in armor made of heavenly metals and held a plasma sword and an energy shield in his hands. He made loud screams and spells, which summoned fire, water, earth, and life. He attacked the cosmonauts and the Seal Knights, so that they flew in different directions. He destroyed everything in his way. But then, unexpectedly Alpha appeared with an army of Seal Knights and a NASA computer in a robot body. They came to help the cosmonauts. They were brave and well organized. They had shining crystals on their spears and bows, which emitted light and energy. The NASA computer fearlessly jumped towards the Anunnaki and spoke to him in ancient Sumerian language, telling him to go back where he came from. He said, Go away, Marduk. Go away. Go away. This was his name in ancient Sumerian language. It meant bull of heaven. He said, You are not welcome here. You are not welcome here. You are not welcome here. This was his warning. It meant you are not wanted here. He said, You have no right to this world. You have no right to this world. You have no right to this world. This was his accusation. It meant you are not the master of this world. He said, You are old and weak. You are old and weak. You are old and weak. This was his insult. It meant you are not worthy of this world. The NASA computer attacked Marduk with his robotic arms and legs, which were strong and agile. Marduk barely blocked his blows with his sword and shield, and his movements were heavy and tired. The army of Seal Knights supported the NASA computer with their crystals, which suppressed Marduk with their light and energy. They shot at him with their arrows, which hit the gaps in his armor and wounded him. They shouted their battle cries, which instilled fear and doubt in him. Marduk could not cope with such a determined and organized resistance. He covered his eyes and ears from the blinding light and deafening sound. He felt pain and anger in his heart. But he realized that he was losing this battle. He decided to retreat temporarily and return to his world. He turned around and ran to the wormhole portal. He jumped into it and disappeared. The portal blinked and closed behind him. Andre, Dmitri, Alpha, NASA computer, and the Seal Knights were saved. They hugged each other and congratulated each other on their victory. They celebrated their victory with a lunar party with lunar DJs. They were happy that they were able to repel Marduk's attack and preserve the wormhole portal. The cosmonauts decided to return to Earth, to tell about their adventures and discoveries. They thanked the Seal Knights for their help and friendship and went home. During communication with Earth, they learned that they were awarded a trip to Florida and a tour of the Disneyland by George H.W. Bush, as well as a secret order of Gagarin of the 9th degree and a subscription of non-departure from Mikhail Gorbachev. The NASA computer was presented with an extraordinary upgrade, but he was not even happy. The computer looked thoughtfully out of the porthole at the receding moon, then at the medallion with Alava's portrait and sighed sadly. Happy end? What? Happy end? Oh no. I think your ending was too abrupt and happy, which did not match the tone and theme of your story. You could try to make your ending more dramatic and satisfying, or leave some room for ambiguity or sequel. Okay. The moon in the past, a departure from the happy end. Marduk returned to his world, which was the moon in the distant past. He was furious. He could not forgive those who dared to disturb his rest and threaten his power. He woke up his warriors, who were Anunnaki, like him. They were also products of genetic engineering and created as invincible warriors. They had different forms and abilities. They were dressed in armor made of heavenly metals and held weapons made of fire, water, earth, and life. He prepared his flying saucers, which were made of gold, silver and precious stones. They were equipped with various systems and devices. They could fly through the air and space, penetrate through space and time, attack from different sides and defend themselves from any threats. He spoke in Sumerian to his warriors. Kishar. 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 This was his order. It meant earth. 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 He said. Lugal. 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 This was his call. It meant king. 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 He said. Zi. 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 This was his appeal. It meant spirit. 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 He said. Me. 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 This was his demand. It meant power. 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 He and his warriors shouted these words with such force and passion that the sky darkened and the moon trembled. They summoned a huge storm of fire, water, earth, and life, which enveloped the entire crater. They created a powerful whirlwind of death, revenge, and glory, which rose to the sky. They were ready for battle. Marduk climbed to the top of a 2-kilometer tower, which stood in the center of the crater. This was the Tower of Moon Babel, which was built in honor of his victory over the planet Tiamat and Tiamat herself, the mother of dragons and dinosaurs. He lit the fire of war, which was visible from all sides of the moon. He inspired his warriors, reminding them of their ancient history and unfading glory. He looked at his army with pride and confidence. He knew that he had a technical advantage over his enemies. He had 1,000 flying saucers, each with 10 Anunnaki warriors, who were strong and agile. He had the largest and most majestic saucer called Magur, which belonged to him. It was built in the shape of a star with 6 rays. On each ray there was a symbol of one of the elements: fire, water, earth, air, life, and death. In the dome of the saucer there was a throne of Marduk, which was made of pure gold. On the throne sat Marduk himself, who was dressed in royal armor and held a terrible weapon of storms in his hands. He gave the signal to start the attack. His saucers lifted off from the crater and flew towards Earth. They formed a huge formation that looked like a star from below. They pierced through space and time, using their advanced technology. They reached Earth in a matter of minutes, surprising their enemies with their speed. They attacked Earth with their weapons, causing chaos and destruction. They unleashed fire, water, earth, and life on their enemies, burning, drowning, burying and mutating them. And it would be the last day on Earth, if not computer. The NASA computer managed to break into the communication system of the Anunnaki, and pretended to be Anu, the supreme god of the sky, whom the Anunnaki feared and revered. He spoke to them in Sumerian, telling them that Earth was under his protection, and that they should stop their attack and return to the moon. He said, Anu, Anu, Anu. This was his name. It meant sky. 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 He said. Abzug. 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 This was his warning. It meant stop. 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 He said. You are you. You are you. You are you. This was his command. It meant return. 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 He said. Shoo. 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 This was his threat. It meant or else. Or else. Or else. The Anunnaki were shocked and confused by this message. They did not expect to hear from Anu, who rarely intervened in their affairs. They did not know how to disobey or question him. They did not want to anger or offend him. They stopped their attack and retreated to the moon. They fled from Earth and Anu, who they thought was watching them. They returned to the moon with shame and fear. They returned to the moon with doubt and guilt. Marduk was furious and disappointed. He realized that he had been tricked by a clever enemy, who had used his own religion against him. He knew that he had lost the war. Marduk decided to take revenge on the NASA computer, who had tricked him and ruined his plan. He also wanted to learn more about the Earthlings and their source of power. He thought that the best way to do that was to kidnap Alpha, the leader of the Seal Knights and the girlfriend of the NASA computer. He gathered few remaining warriors, who were still loyal and brave. He repaired his damaged saucer, which were still functional and powerful. He prepared his weapons, which were still deadly and destructive. He spoke in Sumerian to his warriors. Alpha. 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 This was his target. It meant Alpha. 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 Marduk went to the wormhole portal, which was still open and stable. He entered the code on the door. He adjusted the portal to the right time and place. He located Alpha by using his tracking device, which detected her unique energy signature. He found her in the city of the Seal Knights that called Infinitum, on the dark side of the moon. He saw her walking in the streets, smiling and laughing with her people. And then he attacked with his weapons, causing shock and panic. He unleashed fire, water, earth, and life on her guards and friends, killing or injuring them. He used his whirlwind of death, revenge, and glory to sweep away her people, scattering or capturing them. He showed no mercy or pity to them, only hatred and contempt. He targeted Alpha and grabbed her with his tractor beam, which lifted her body from the ground. He pulled her into his saucer, which closed its doors behind her. He secured her in his saucer and locked her in a cage. He kidnapped Alpha with his saucer, which flew away from the city. He returned to Marduk's tower, where he interrogated Alpha. He wanted to know everything about the Earthlings and their source of power. He wanted to know how they had tricked and defeated him. He wanted to know how they had used the wormhole portal and contacted Anu. He spoke in Sumerian to Alpha. Umma. 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 This was his question. It meant who? 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 He said. Im. 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 This was his demand. It meant tell. 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 But Alpha did not answer him. She did not tell him anything about the Earthlings or their source of power. She did not tell him anything about their tricks or their victory. On top of his tower, Marduk interrogated the captured leader of the Seal Knights, Alpha. He knew that she was on the side of the astronauts and the NASA computer, who had defeated him. He decided to pull Alpha to his side. He spoke of his kindness to her and her people. He had always protected them from the dangers of the lunar desert, gave them food and water, taught them art and science. Why did you choose not me, but the NASA computer? He asked. What is the secret of the Earthlings and their power? What can they give you that I cannot? Alpha answered boldly and proudly. She said that they did not need his care. They wanted to be free and independent, to live by their own laws and traditions. She said that the Earthlings were their friends and allies, who came to them with peace and respect. She said that the NASA computer was not just a machine, but an intelligent being, who helped them to know the world and themselves. You are wrong, Alpha. The Earthlings are your enemies. They want to conquer the moon and use its resources for their purposes. They deceive you with their lying words and gifts. They do not value you and your people, said Marduk. No, Marduk. You lie. You are our enemy. You are a tyrant and a despot, who subjugates everyone and everything to yourself. You do not love us, you fear us. You fear losing your power and glory. You fear change and progress. You fear the NASA computer, because it is smarter than you, replied Alpha. Marduk sneered wickedly. I do not fear anything or anyone, Alpha. I am Marduk, the great god, the lord of the moon and the stars. I am the creator and destroyer, life and death. I am the one who gives you a chance to save yourself from the wrath of the Earthlings. Join me, Alpha, and I will make you my queen. You will rule with me over the moon and the earth. You will possess all the wisdom and beauty of the world. Alpha laughed. I do not want to be your queen, Marduk. I want to be free, like the wind. I want to be with those who are dear to my heart. I want to be with the astronauts and the NASA computer. They are my family and my friends. Marduk shuddered at her words. He felt that something in him cracked and broke. He felt that he had lost her forever. Then you will die with them, Alpha, he said softly. But before you do, let me tell you something that you do not know. Something that might change your mind about me. He leaned closer to her ear and whispered. I am the creator of the earth and the moon from an ancient planet called Tiamat. Long ago, before there were any gods or humans or seal knights, there was planet Tiamat, it was ocean world. I fought with Tiamat in a great battle that shook the cosmos. I killed her with my weapons and cut her body into pieces. From one half of her body, I made moon, from another half, I made earth. He paused for a moment and looked into her eyes. Do you understand what this means? It means that you are my daughter. It means that we are connected by blood and spirit. It means that we belong together. He smiled gently. Now tell me, Alpha, do you still hate me? I am Marduk, the son of the pure sky, the Lord, the Creator, the light of the heavens and the earth, the owner of the divine weapon. I have brought you here to tell you a story and offer all I have. Alpha, how can you say that? How can you say that you love me, when you have done so much harm to others? You don't know what love is. You only know how to dominate and oppress. Marduk. No, Alpha, let me tell you how it happened. It all started with Tiamat, the goddess of chaos and salt water. She was one of the first divine beings that emerged from the primordial sea Namu in our solar system. She was the wife of the god of heaven Anu and gave birth to many other gods. But she hated her children for trying to establish their own order in the cosmos, and so she decided to destroy them. She gathered an army of monstrous creatures, dragons, snakes, scorpions, and others. She also took as her allies king, one of her sons, and gave him the ancient computer, tablets of destiny, which determined the fate of all living beings. She declared king her chief warrior and led him to war against the other gods. The other gods were scared by her fury and power. They did not know who could stand against her. They turned to me for help. I was a leader of a cosmic tribe that worshipped Anu and his children. I had a vision of Anu calling me to fight Tiamat for supremacy over all gods. He promised me that if I succeeded, he would make me his son and heir. I agreed to fight Tiamat for supremacy over all gods. But I knew that I could not do it alone. I needed allies and weapons. So I went to the 4 satellites of Tiamat, where she had built powerful defenses against any attack from outside. Alpha, what were those satellites? Marduk, they were artificial worlds that orbited around Tiamat like moons. They were called Lamua, Lahemu, Kishar, and Anshar. They were inhabited by different races of beings that served Tiamat. They had advanced technology and magic that made them formidable foes. Alpha, how did you get there? Marduk, I used a spaceship that was hidden on Nibiru by Anu. It was shaped like a dragon for intimidation and respect. But it also had powerful engines, laser guns, and shields. It was called Mushushu, after an ancient beast that was revered by my tribe. I infiltrated each satellite one by one. Using stealth and deception, I pretended to be an envoy of Tiamat, sent to check on their loyalty and readiness. I gained their trust and access to their secrets. I learned about their weaknesses and strengths. I sabotaged their systems and sowed discord among them. I weakened their defenses and prepared them for my attack. Alepha, and then what? Marduk, I also found a suitable celestial body for my plan. It was a protoplanet called Gaia, which orbited around the sun. It was smaller than Tiamat, but still large enough to inflict a fatal blow on her. I used my divine technology to change its orbit. I activated a gravitational manipulator that was hidden on Gaia. This manipulator could create distortions in space-time that affected the motion of bodies in space. I set it to attract Gaia to Tiamat. I directed Gaia towards Tiamat with such speed and accuracy that she could not dodge or defend herself. Gaia hit Tiamat with such force that her body split into two parts. From one part I created the sky, and from the other, the earth. I also created the moon from part of the matter that was thrown into space during the collision. I established order in the cosmos. I captured the tablets of destiny from King, and gained the right to determine the fate of all living beings. Part 3. Beyond Moon. Suddenly, through a portal of chronosingularities, the NASA computer appears. He was in a giant robot body in the form of a human made of high-tech alloys. He has come from the future, from Mars in 2068, where terraforming has taken place and there is already an atmosphere and life and an ocean. Together with Alpha they step back to chronosingularity and go to the future of Mars. The NASA computer tells her that he loves her and that it wants her to stay in the future. He says that she can bring her people with her. She looks at him with admiration and gratitude. She feels a surge of emotions in her chest, curiosity, wonder, excitement, joy, and something else that she cannot name. She opens her mouth to speak, but no words come out. The NASA computer says Alpha that Marduk hypnotized her and that everything are different. It says that he came to give her and her people brand new world and that he remembered her and developed the portal of chronosingularities to go back in time and save her. He shows how the portal works and what the future is like. The portal of chronosingularities is a device that can create wormholes between different points in space and time. It uses a powerful laser to create a singularity, a point of infinite density and gravity, that can bend space-time. Then it uses another laser to create an anti-singularity, a point of negative density and gravity, that can stretch space-time. By connecting these 2 points with a quantum tunnel, it can create a portal that allows travel between them. Mars in 2068 is a very different planet from the one you know. It has a thick atmosphere that protects it from radiation and allows liquid water to exist on the surface. It has a global ocean that covers about 40% of its surface, and several large islands and continents that are home to various plants and animals. It has a stable climate that ranges from tropical to temperate, with seasons and weather patterns. It has a magnetic field that is generated by an artificial core that was installed by humans in the 2050s. The terraforming of Mars was a long and complex process that involved many steps and technologies. Some of the main ones were bombarding Mars with asteroids and comets to increase its mass, heat, and water supply, releasing greenhouse gases from the polar caps, the regolith, and the minerals to warm up the planet and thicken the atmosphere. Seeding the atmosphere with microbes and algae to produce oxygen and reduce carbon dioxide. Introducing plants and animals from Earth and genetically modified ones to create a biosphere. Building cities, farms, industries, and infrastructure to support human civilization. The future is a wonderful place where humans have colonized many worlds in the solar system and beyond. They have advanced technology that allows them to explore, communicate, create, and enjoy life. They have also learned to respect and protect nature and other forms of life. They have achieved peace and harmony among themselves and with other civilizations they have encountered. Suddenly, they are approached by their old friends, the astronauts Andrei and Dmitry, and their lunar dog Scorpion Lunar. They have not changed much since the last time they saw them, as genetics has learned to reverse aging. They invite the computer and Alpha to explore the Martian anomalies and tell them about the most promising ones, where they can find traces of ancient Martian life. They continue their adventure. They board a rover that can travel through the portal of chronosingularities and head to one of the locations that Andrei and Dmitry have marked on their map. It is a place where the Mars Global Surveyor, MGS, has captured an image of what looks like a face on Mars. The image has sparked many theories and speculations about the possibility of an ancient civilization on Mars, but no one has ever been able to verify it. They arrive at the site and get out of the rover. They see a large hill with a rocky slope that resembles a human face. The eyes, nose, mouth, and chin are clearly visible from a distance. They walk closer to examine it more carefully. The computer scans the hill with its sensors and analyzes its composition and structure. It says that the hill is made of sedimentary rock that has been eroded by wind and water over time. Alpha looks at the hill with her eyes and feels something different. She says that she can sense a presence in the hill, a faint echo of a mind that once inhabited it. She says that the voice is asking for help. Andrei and Dmitry are surprised by her words. They ask her what she means by that. Lunar barks and runs towards the hill. He sniffs around and digs into the ground with his claws. He finds something shiny and metallic buried under the soil. He pulls it out and brings it to them. It is a device that looks like a helmet with wires and electrodes attached to it. It has a label on it that reads in Egyptian hieroglyphs, Project e-Inka. The computer recognizes the device and says that it is a mind transfer or reader that was used to create and control artificial life forms on Mars. Computer says that Alpha must have somehow tuned into his frequency and heard his plea. Alpha smiles mysteriously and says that she thinks she knows who can oppose Marduk. She talks about the ancient gods from Sirius and the star systems of e-Inka to the west of the sun on the galactic map. She says that they built colonies in ancient Egypt but then suddenly disappeared from the solar system. Alpha, I have a feeling that there is more to this hill than meets the eye. Andrei, what do you mean, Alpha? Alpha, I mean, have you ever heard of the ancient gods from Sirius and the star systems of e-Inka? Dmitry, Sirius. The brightest star in the night sky? Alpha, yes, that's right. But Sirius is not just a star, it's a binary system with two stars orbiting each other. And according to some legends, there are also planets around them, inhabited by advanced beings. Computer, that is correct, Alpha. I have some information about these beings from my database. They are called themselves Neferu, it means perfect ones, and they are one of the oldest and most influential races in the galaxy. They have visited many worlds, including Earth and Mars, and have shared their knowledge and wisdom with various civilizations. Alpha, see. I told you. The Sirians were very close to the ancient Egyptians, who considered them as their ancestors and teachers. They taught them about astronomy, mathematics, medicine. They also helped them build some of their most impressive monuments, such as the pyramids and the Sphinx. Andrei, wow, that's amazing. But what about Mars? Did they also come here? Computer, yes, they did. According to some records, they had a colony on Mars long before humans arrived. They were interested in studying the planet's history and secrets, as well as its potential for life. Dimitri, so, what happened to them? Where did they go? Computer, that is a mystery that has not been solved yet. Some say that they left Mars because of a cataclysmic event that changed its climate and atmosphere. Some say that they ascended to a higher dimension of existence. Some say that they are still here, hiding in underground bases or cloaked ships. Alpha, I think we should try to find out the truth. Maybe they can help us against Marduk. Maybe they can tell us more about our origins and destiny. Andre, I agree, Alpha. It sounds like a fascinating adventure. Dimitri, me too. Lunar, woof. Computer, very well then. Let us continue our exploration of Mars and see if we can find any traces of the Saurians or their colonies. I have some coordinates of possible locations where we can start our search. The computer describes these places. One of the possible locations where we can look for traces of the Saurians is the Cydonia region, where the face-like hill is located. This region is also known for having other anomalous features, such as pyramids, mounds, and geometric shapes. Some researchers have suggested that these features are artificial structures that were built by an ancient civilization on Mars. If this is true, then we might find some evidence of the Saurians' presence and activity there, such as inscriptions, artifacts, or technology. Another possible location where we can search for the Saurians is the Elysium Planitia, where the InSight lander has detected a mysterious hum coming from the interior of Mars. This hum could be a sign of seismic activity, volcanic activity, or something else. Some speculate that it could be related to the artificial core that was installed by humans to create a magnetic field on Mars. If this is the case, then we might find some clues about how the Saurians were involved in the terraforming process and what they learned from studying the planet's geology. A third possible location where we can investigate the Saurians is the Hellas Planitia, where the Mars Express orbiter has detected traces of methane in the atmosphere. Methane is a gas that can be produced by biological or geological processes. Some scientists have suggested that it could indicate the presence of life on Mars, either past or present. If this is true, then we might find some samples of ancient or modern Martian life forms that were influenced by the Saurians' genetic engineering or biotechnology. These are just some of the places where we can explore and discover more about the Saurians and their legacy on Mars. And there are many more mysteries and secrets. The long cloud that comes out of the volcanoes on Mars is a fascinating phenomenon that has been observed by various spacecraft over the years. It is a cloud of water ice that forms every morning during the Martian summer in the southern hemisphere, and stretches for up to 1,800 kilometers along the western flank of RCA Mons, one of the largest volcanoes on Mars. It is also known as the RCA Mons Elongated Cloud, AMEC. The cloud is not caused by volcanic activity, but possibly by atmospheric conditions. As the air rises over the slope of RCA Mons, it cools down and condenses into tiny ice crystals, forming a cloud. The cloud is then carried by the wind to the west, where it dissipates by midday as the temperature rises. The cloud is similar to what happens on Earth when moist air flows over mountains and forms orographic clouds. However, on Mars, the cloud is much larger and longer, because of the lower gravity, thinner atmosphere, and stronger winds. The cloud also provides clues about the history and geology of RCA Mons and its surroundings. For example, some researchers have suggested that the cloud could indicate the presence of water or ice deposits under the surface of RCA Mons. Alpha, great. Let's go then. P.S. Thank you for watching. Deep and lucid dreams to you. Everything you heard is not the ultimate truth but food for the mind and a stimulus for new approach. If you are